All right, so the flow of genetic information. Any questions before we start? Did you guys take a deep breath just now? Taking a deep breath is probably good, yeah? Okay, so the flow of genetic information. We've talked about replication, yeah? We're starting to talk about expression, yeah? So let's talk in more detail about expression. Okay, first though, let's talk about RNA. All right? Guys good? So RNA, we've talked about a little bit before. RNA is important to briefly talk about. It's ribonucleic acid instead of deoxyribonucleic acid. So ribose sugar, it's still a sugar, phosphate, and a base, but it's not deoxyribose sugar, it's ribose sugar. And we have some important differences. RNA has uracil and not thymine. RNA is usually single-stranded and not double-stranded. And furthermore, we've pretty much got one kind of DNA, and that's DNA, but we've got many kinds of RNA. There's mRNA, what's that? M. Messenger, most people know that one. What about R? Ribosomal. T? Transfer, yeah? How about SI? Anyone know that one? That's called small interfering, and I'm certainly not expecting you guys to know that. But hey, there's another kind of, you knew about some kinds of RNA, yeah? And you didn't know about this one. There's lots of different kinds of RNA. Here's one that's brand new as of 2006 called 21U RNAs, yeah? It looks like they must have 21 uracils right in a row. Does that make sense? And it looks like this was published in a pretty fancy magazine, Cell, in 2006. And again, you don't need to know this, but the point is that RNA has other jobs that we're just learning about in 2006, yeah? So it's much more versatile, yeah? DNA is a molecule that is informational, yeah? It has a structure, right? What's the structure of DNA? A double helix, yeah? We know the structure, yeah? But that structure serves pretty much one purpose, and that purpose is information storage. Does that make sense? Right? DNA does not turn itself into a hammer to smash things. DNA does not turn itself into a vice to grab things, yeah? But RNA is informational and it's also structural, right? Proteins are their structure is really important to their function, yeah? Proteins can act like enzymes. Proteins can act like walking people, yeah? And again, the shape of a protein allows proteins to do things, yeah? DNA is kind of like a hard disk, yeah? It's, insofar as it has structure, it only serves the purpose of storing information. RNA has information, right? Here's the A's, C's, G's, and so on. But when it folds back on itself like this, we suddenly start getting shape. And shape starts getting the ability to do stuff, yeah? Right? Here's messenger RNA, a ribbon of information. This molecule is pretty much exclusively informational, yeah? But here's another molecule, transfer RNA, and it's got a particular defined shape. There are several transfer RNAs, and they all have about this particular shape. And this shape, you can grab it. You can put it places. You can stick things on it. Yeah? It's a device, not a piece of information. In the same way that a wrench is a device, whereas a hard disk is a piece of information. Here's another example. Ribosomes, ribosomal RNA that a lot of you knew about, right? That is because a ribosome is made out of RNA. Not completely, but it looks like its majority of it is built out of RNA, right? This is a physical structure. This is a device. This thing does stuff. What does a ribosome do? It makes proteins, right? So this is a protein assembly machine. This is not an informational molecule. This is a contraption. You understand the difference? Right? And yet it's made out of RNA. So RNA is informational, RNA is structural. DNA, pretty much just informational. protein pretty much just structural. RNA is in between them, yeah? Both process-wise and function-wise, yeah? Okay. So, because it serves such a dual purpose, it was often thought that at the formation of life 3.5 billion years ago, right, that it was necessary for life when DNA wasn't. And in the creation of life, step 1, have RNA. Step 2, have life. Step 3, get DNA later. Yeah? And again, nobody was around. These are speculations, but they're speculations based on rational thought and to some degree experimentation and chemical evidence. Okay. And here's a cartoon about the RNA world. The RNA world hypothesis is this hypothesis that RNA was prerequisite for life and DNA was not. Okay. So much for RNA. Let's go on to the